Hello, it's Rebecca here from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I'm designing a layout for Papermaze, and again I'm using P13 Paper Products Soulmate collection. So for this layout I've fussy cut a load of the feathers from paper number 1, and that really inspired me to want to make a dream catcher for this layout. They just reminded me so much of a dream catcher. So I have a metal ring here, it's 10 centimeters wide, and I've wrapped string all the way around it and tied it off, and then I've painted it gold with acrylic paint to give it a more realistic look. And I'm going to use that for the main part of my dream catcher and have the feathers dangling down just like this. And I'm using the B side of paper number 4, that gorgeous dark navy paper, for my background because I thought that went really well with the gold paint. It's a lovely contrast, and I've got both of these colours in my photo. So it's of my little boy feeding the ducks at our local lake, and he's wearing kind of like a mustard coloured jumper which really looks like the gold. So this photo worked really well with these colours. Now, confession time, I got myself into a right old muddle trying to make this dream catcher. I tried making it with wire at first to make the circle, but that wasn't happening, which is why I then used this metal ring. And I'm now using a We Are Memory Keepers metallic gold thread to wrap around the dream catcher. Now, rather than just wrapping it round, I wanted to kind of loop it through to make sure it held in place, but it just kept getting in a right old tangle. So initially I tried to put the whole reel of thread through to wrap it round, but that wasn't working because the more I added, the smaller the holes were becoming, and I just didn't have the space to do that. So then I wrapped the thread around my fingers as I try to make a loop to thread it through, but as you can see I'm just getting in a right old tangle with it. So it took me several attempts, and in the end I turned the camera off because it was really bad. It was just like a comedy of errors, it just wasn't going right. So I turned the camera off and finished that off camera, and I've also tied some of the gold thread around the top of each of the feathers so that I can attach them to my dream catcher. So you can see there I've got all that thread wrapped around, and I'm just doing the last feather, and then I've got the interesting job of trying to hang those. So I also had the idea to tuck my photo in that thread, but that wasn't working either because the threads were all intertwined. And then I tried to tie the feathers on, but they just kind of were pinging in all sorts of directions, and I realised that it wasn't going to be as easy as I'd anticipated. So I gave up on that for now and went to work on my background. I wanted to bring in more of the gold, so I've reached for the same gold acrylic paint and I've watered it down on a bit of packaging, and I'm just going to town adding loads and loads of splatters to my background. I'm not really one for using dark backgrounds because I always find mixed media doesn't really show up on it, but this gold acrylic paint really does show up, and it's got a lovely metallic finish to it as well, so it's really nice. I'm also coming in with some white gesso. Again, I'm going to water that down and just add a few more splatters. They're not as obvious as the gold, but it just gave it kind of like another layer and a bit more interest, a bit more contrast. I also decided to add a bit of stamping detail to my background. So I've poured out some black inks here. This one is a Stays On ink, and I've got a stamp that I'm just trying to add some detail to. I initially had it on an acrylic stamping block, but it was making the stamp look very square and kind of blocky, which I didn't want. So in the end I just took it off and sort of free-handed it. And then I've got some sequin waste here just from my stash that I'm using as a stencil to add some black ink through. and I've used the Distressing Black Soot for that one, purely because stays on, literally does stay on, and I didn't want it sticking to my blending brush, because I don't think it would have come off, and I like to reuse those. They clean up really well and you can use them for different colours, but I didn't think the stays on would come off. So for just using that stenciling, I changed over to the Distressing. And then I've just stuck my Dreamcatcher down, or the top half down, with glossy accents. That was like my probably 110th error on this layout, because now I've stuck it down, I can't tie my feathers around it because I can't get the thread underneath it to tie. And if you've used glossy accents, you'll know that kind of once it started to dry, it's dried, like it really does hold and stick. So I then have to try and stick my thread to my Dreamcatcher and attach my feathers without tying them off. So if you're going to try and replicate this layout, do tie your feathers on before you stick your Dreamcatcher down. And I'm raising all of these feathers up on foam pads to add a bit of dimension. As always with me, I love a lot of dimension and texture to my layouts. I find it just makes them so much more interesting. And this one certainly has a lot of dimension because that ring with all the string tied around it is very bulky. So here I am trying to now stick my threads down, so I'm having to stretch them over and just use glossy accents and try and stick the thread under as far as I can get it with the tip of my scissors. Not ideal, but I've used glossy accents, so it has held. And now I just wanted to add a white frame around my photo. That's just to give it a bit of separation from the background and just to help it stand out a bit and not get lost on that background. And then I'm coming in with a layer of vellum as well behind that, just for another texture on the page. I'm going to have my photo just sat to the right of my Dreamcatcher there. And I thought this photo worked really well with the feathers, because my little boy is feeding the ducks and the geese, so obviously they have lots of feathers. So as soon as I decided I was going to use the feathered paper, I knew I wanted to use this photo. Now these floral clusters I'm using here have been fussy cut from paper number 2. There's a lot of papers in this collection that are fantastic for fussy cutting, and it means you can kind of make your own ephemera and really stretch a collection and get loads out of it. So those floral clusters are from paper number 2, and then the other bits and bobs I'm bringing in here, some are from paper 7, which is the one I'm cutting up now. I'm cutting these owls out of. And the moths are from the B-side of paper number 3. So like straight away you've got the feathers, the florals, the moths, and the paper 7 with all the different elements on. All 4 of those papers are fantastic for fussy cutting, so I made sure I got a couple of each of those so that I can use the A side and also the B side. So I've got a compass there and a large moth, and then these owls are all from paper 7, and then the smaller moth to the left of my Dreamcatcher is from paper number 3 with the moths on. So just taking some time to fussy cut a couple of owls. Obviously we weren't feeding owls, but you know, they're birds, so it worked for me, it was close enough. And then I've just got this piece here I'm cutting out. I'm just going to add behind the top of my photo just for another layer and a bit more interest. So you can see I've got that huge pile of things to the left there, all fussy cut. Like that will last me at least another 2 or 3 layouts, so you really can get a lot out of these collections. And they're not expensive either. They only have, I think all the P13 collections only have 7 papers, they're double-sided. But they don't have a massive amount of papers, and then you get a few embellishment packs that have got some stickers and tags in, and again they're really inexpensive. So that's what I love about these collections, you can get so much from them and they're not at all expensive, so they work out really great value for money, which is good for me because I love working with them as well. So it means I've got a couple of each of the papers, and this collection will last me a while now, hopefully. So again, I'm using foam pads to stick a lot of this down. Anything I'm attaching to my dream catcher, I'm adding some glossy accents as well, just because I wasn't sure how well PVA glue would stick to the acrylic paint that I've put on the string. So just making sure with the glossy accents that it will stick. And then I'm just going to place my photo on top, and you'll see in the close-ups by using the foam pads just how many different layers and dimension you can achieve from using those pads. It's one of my favourite things to do. And then with butterflies and moths and things like that, I stick foam pads or glossy accents down the middle where the body is, and I always leave the wings flapping free, just for, again, a bit more dimension and interest. I don't like to stick anything down flat really, so yeah, just another way of adding some interest. Now for my title, I've used paper number 4, which has a load of letters. It's possibly words. P13 is a Polish company, so it could be Polish words on there, I don't know, I don't speak Polish, but to me it's a load of letters and numbers. So I've fussy cut the letters out to spell the word ducks, and then I'm using one of the alpha sticker sets, so that is sticker sheet number 2, alpha sticker sheet number 2. So you get 2 in this collection. You get a dark wood grain alpha and the navy. So I've got the navy, and I really wanted to use it on this layout, but obviously it was going to get totally lost on the navy background. So I've stuck them down onto white cardstock and then just cut around them, leaving a really, really narrow border. I've stuck the word feed down already with a lot of white showing, and the more I looked at this layout, the more the white bugged me. So before I photograph my layout after I've finished it, I do, oh you can see I've done it there already, I do take a craft knife and just cut those internal white bits out because they were really standing out. Because other than the frame around my photo, there isn't really any white on this layout. Everything's kind of cream or beige, so that didn't look right at all. So I've cut that out, and it's made my title Feed the Ducks. And then I've added a couple of the phrase stickers underneath my title there. They're from sticker sheet number 1, and one says Simple Life and the other one says Right Now. And then at the top I've also added a skeleton leaf. That's just from my stash, but I have them in kind of like a beige natural colour, navy and black, so they'll all work really well with this collection. So I've popped one of those in as well. And then this round sticker is from sticker sheet number 3. I think it says today, we'll double check when I turn it over, can't remember. I've added some foam pads to that, and then I'm bringing in some more of that gold thread. Just tangled it around my fingers to make a little thread cluster, and I'm going to pop that sticker in the centre of it. Again, a bit more interest, a bit more texture, and just spreads the gold further over to that side of the page. Now I've got these banner tags here. There's 2 packs in this collection. You get cardstock tags 2 and 3. I'm fortunate enough to have both, but this particular tag is from set number 3, and it's got feathers on it, so I really wanted to use it but struggled to find a place for it. So what I do is tear it in half, and I'm going to slide it in under my photo just so the bottom of it is sticking out below my photo there. And again, I've used glossy accents because that's going to sit on top of that dream catcher that I've painted. And that's me done. So there's the final layout. Once I'd gotten over the initial drama of creating that dream catcher, it actually came together really, really quickly. It doesn't look exactly like I had it planned in my head, but it's close enough, and definitely as close as I'm going to get it. But I am really pleased with how it came out. So I will leave links in the description box below for the Papermaze blog and this collection in the store, because it's already up online if you'd like to grab it yourself. Until then, I will leave you with some close-ups, and please remember to hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more layouts with this collection. Until next time, bye!